Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. So I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay. Very good. I wanted to be sure that everybody is hearing me. Don't mind the noise at the background. There is a construction going on close to where I am presently. So just ignore the background noise. So I hope others will join us very quickly so that we can start the lecture. We could not continue the lecture last week because of the public holiday. So we'll start from where we stopped. So this is 4:35. I think we should start. So where did we stop the last time? Who can remind us where we stopped? So we'll quickly continue. Sorry, where did we stop? Anybody? Please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Nasal cavity.
No, it can't. It's not possible.
And we talk about we stopped our larynx.
Really?
Yes, larynx.
We stopped
Let's
at
talk about larynx.
sorry, sir. We
Yeah?
talked about that.
You don't talk about larynx, the voice.
We stopped at pharynx, where we have the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx.
Yes, we stop at pharynx.
We stopped at pharynx.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, somebody was now asking about mucus that okay, trachea. Okay. Since we stop pharynx, let's start from there so that we can progress. So we said that the larynx is the organ that joins the pharynx to the trachea. Okay, it connects the pharynx to the trachea, and the wall of the larynx is made up of about 9 pieces of cartilage. Okay, 3 of those cartilage are thyroid cartilage, epiglottis, and cricoid cartilage, while the other 3, which are in pairs, are the arytenoid cartilage, cuneiform cartilage, and corniculate cartilage. So the larynx is the voice box. Which allows air to move in and out by creating the sound vibration. Sorry, I hope the noise is not disturbing you too much. There's a construction going on right now, and I thought it should have stopped, but I hope they will stop very soon. Okay. So the extrinsic muscle of the larynx connects the cartilage together. So the cartilage are joined together by the extrinsic muscle of the larynx, and these muscles are smooth muscles. They are smooth muscles. While the intrinsic muscles also connect the cartilage together. So the cartilage are connected by extrinsic muscle and intrinsic muscle. So the intrinsic muscle are the circular and the longitudinal muscle. The circular and the longitudinal muscle. So in the regarding the three pieces of cartilage of the larynx, the thyroid cartilage is usually referred to as the Adam's apple, and is more prominent in male, okay, due to the influence of male reproductive hormone, which is the testosterone. So testosterone affects the size. It affects the size of the thyroid cartilage in male. It's also present in female, but it's not as prominent, as big, as developed as that of the male, due to the presence of testosterone, which makes it developed very well. This is another part of the larynx. Okay, is a leaf-shaped piece of elastic cartilage that is covered by epithelial cells, swallow. And why? Because the pharynx and the larynx will ride the esophagus, okay, not into the larynx, okay, because when food gets into the larynx, it goes into the trachea. So the epiglottis helps to move down and covers the glottis. It helps to cover the glottis so that food and drinks can go into the esophagus. Esophagus is located behind the trachea. The trachea is meant to receive air, not food. So the function of the epiglottis is to move over the glottis so that it can close the larynx. And once the larynx is closed, it will allow food that is coming from the pharynx to move into the esophagus. And from the esophagus, the food moves into the stomach. So the purpose of the epiglottis is a tissue, is a layer of a cartilage that is above the glottis. And the purpose of it is to cover the larynx so that food and drinks does not enter into the trachea. That's the purpose. So the epiglottis is a flat tissue that guides the entrance of the trachea. by closing the larynx so that food can go into the esophagus and stomach. When dust, smoke, food, and drinks get into the larynx, into the trachea, it stimulates cough. Okay, it can stimulate cough. So we cough as a result of irritation in the larynx and the trachea. Okay. So I will explain the cough reflex, which is also the same thing as sneeze. We can cough or we can sneeze if the larynx and the trachea are irritated. They can be irritated by dust, by smoke, or when food particle enters into the larynx and trachea. Don't forget that the larynx and trachea are meant to conduct air. And that is why the epiglottis covers the larynx during swallowing. Another word for swallowing is deglutition. So when you hear the word deglutition, it's also referred to as swallowing. Now, talking about the cough reflex or sneezing is prevented by the epiglottis. How? Epiglottis cover the glottis so that the two can cover the larynx and prevent any irritant from entering into the airway. When we swallow food and mistakenly it enters into the wrong pipe, because in the front you have the trachea, behind you have the esophagus. The trachea that is at the front, okay, can you spell the word? Which word do you want me to spell? Sorry, Baturi.
Deglutition.
Okay. Okay, it's there. Okay, so it's there for everybody now. So another word, the medical word for swallowing is deglutition. Okay, so if you don't want people to understand what you are saying, maybe during conversation, you can just say deglutition. So deglutition is another word for swallowing. Okay, so anything can irritate the windpipe. Anything can irritate the windpipe, such as the larynx, the trachea, and the bronchi. And these areas are very sensitive. These are sensitive areas of the respiratory tract. The larynx, the trachea, the bronchi, the terminal bronchus, and the alveoli. They are all very sensitive, either sensitive to touch, sensitive to irritants. Irritants can be smoke, it can be dust, it can be chemical, okay? It can even be drink, water, mistakenly entering into the windpipe. So once you have those irritants entering into the windpipe, stimulation, there will be stimulation in the back. Okay, now fiber is a neuron. So neurons, those neurons around the respiratory tract that are very sensitive are stimulated. And there's a particular neuron. There's a particular neuron that is stimulated. That neuron is called vagus nerve. Vagus nerve. Vagus nerve. Okay? I'm explaining why you cough. Why you cough. Okay? Because when you pass through smoke or a smoky area or anything drops into your respiratory tract, it can initiate cough or sneezing. Okay? So I'm saying that all those things that are not welcomed in the respiratory tract are regarded as irritants. Some people can spray perfume and that perfume will become an irritant to cough or to sneezing. Insecticide, smoke, dust, all these things are irritants. And I've given you the layers of the respiratory tract that are very sensitive, such as the larynx, the trachea, the bronchi, the terminal bronchioles, okay, and the alveoli. They are very sensitive to all these irritants. So when these irritants come across these organs, a nerve called vagus nerve, because these areas are innervated, they have nerve fiber, and a nerve fiber is a neuron. A nerve fiber is a neuron, which is an extension of the peripheral nervous system. Okay? I want to break it down for you so you understand. When we talk about neuron or a nerve, we have two categories. We have the one that is called central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. That is not the one we are talking about. The other one, which is the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral. That is the extension from the central is the peripheral. Okay? From the peripheral, you have the vagus nerve. That vagus nerve supplies this respiratory tract. So that vagus nerve is stimulated. Adiola Aishat Babalola. Adiola Aishat Babalola. Okay. Okay, I've been able to mute. Okay. So what I was saying is that vagus nerve that supplies this part of the respiratory tract is stimulated. Adiola, please mute yourself. Okay. Okay. You are a bit fast. Okay, let me slow down. I think, okay, so that because you can be asked to explain cough, why people cough or sneeze. Okay. Okay, somebody saying that I was a little bit fast. Well, let me slow down. I'm saying that the airway, okay, is meant to receive air in and out of the respiratory tract. Okay, what is conducting is air into the lung and also bringing out air into the atmosphere. Now, anything outside here, okay, is regarded as an irritant. When you eat food and mistakenly grains of rice, I've explained how epiglottis, we cover the glottis and cover the larynx. That is normal procedure. But mistakenly, okay, some grains of rice enters into the larynx, then into the trachea. It will stimulate cough reflex, or it can stimulate sneezing, either of the two, whether you cough or you sneeze, because there is an irritant in the environment. An irritant can be anything other than the air going in and out. Okay? Maybe the air is polluted. You spray perfume, okay, or fume or gas fume, or a generator fume, or dust, or food, or cigarette smoke. All these things can be irritant. Now, I was now explaining that the layers of the respiratory tract are very sensitive. So when they receive this irritant, the first thing that will happen is that the environment of this respiratory tract are surrounded by nerve. So a nerve is also a neuron. The other name for nerve is a neuron. So when you say a nerve fiber, it's referring to as a neuron. And neuron are found in the nervous system. Okay? Neurons are not found in the endocrine system. Okay? There are two forms of communication. If your body is going to tell you that something is wrong, it is either through the nervous or through the endocrine. Endocrine deals with hormones, chemicals, while nervous deals with neuron. Nervous is fast, endocrine is slow. Okay? For instance now, let me separate the two so that you understand. When you touch electric wire, a naked wire, it will shock you. And when it shocks you, you remove your hand. Fast. That is nervous. That one is a nervous control. Sorry, ignore the background noise. Sorry. It will soon stop. I don't know why the. So that one is a nervous control. Or when you touch hot iron, or you touch hot plates, or you step on a nail. Okay? All those ones are form of nervous system because they are very fast. Your response is fast. You don't waste time. But for you to feel hungry, or for you to grow, or for you to have sexual libido, sexual drive, it is an endocrine function. It takes time. The day you are born, you don't just grow. It takes time because it is being controlled by endocrine system. So that one is an endocrine function. Any process that is very slow in the body is being controlled by chemicals. When you eat food, it will take time for the food to digest, for it to be absorbed, and for you to feel hungry again. That one is being controlled by endocrine system. Okay? For you to grow, or for you to have sexual drive, or for a woman to ovulate or menstruate, it is not neuro, it is not nervous system, it is endocrine because some hormones, female hormones must be produced, and it must take time for about 14 days of 28-day cycle for the woman to ovulate. And if there is no fertilization, the woman will menstruate. That one takes time. It takes time, hours, days, weeks, months. But anything that is nervous, it takes seconds. It doesn't take much time. So these are the differences between what endocrine and nervous. If you have irritants in your respiratory tract, you don't expect the response to be endocrine, to take time. Because if that irritant is going to affect the person, if it's taking time, the person will eventually die. And that is why that response must be very fast. If you enter a room that is filled with poisonous chemical, immediately you will leave. It won't take time for you to perceive it or for you to have response. Immediately, you start coughing, choking. because it's a nervous control. That is why it is very fast. So I'm saying that which nerve are we talking about? The nerve is called vagus nerve. Vagus. Let me spell it. Vagus nerve. Is there in your chat box now. You can look at it. Vagus nerve. Okay? Vagus nerve. You see, this vagus nerve, I don't want to digress too much. This vagus nerve is part of the cranial nerve. There are nerves called cranial nerve. There are 12 of them. There are 12 of them. 12 of them. They are called cranial nerve. Okay? Cranial nerve means nerve that supplies the brain and the spinal cord. Okay? Because it's derived from the word cranium. Yeah, you know, the bone of the head is cranium. We have explained that under musculoskeletal system. The skull is the common name. If you don't want some people to know what you are talking about medically, you will say cranium. So when you say cranium, they know that you are talking about the bone of the head. Okay? So there are nerves that supplies those part of the brain and spinal cord, and they are called cranial nerve. There are 12 of them. Vagus nerve is one of them, and is number 10. It is number 10. So vagus nerve is called the 10th cranial nerve. Vagus nerve is called the 10th cranial nerve. The 10th cranial nerve supplies when this irritant gets into the respiratory tract, that vagus nerve is stimulated. Stimulation means what? It is awakened. You wake up something. Okay, so when you hear the word stimulation, that means you are exciting that thing. You are waking up that nerve. So when you wake up the vagus nerve, the following effect will occur. The following effect will occur. The following effect will occur. Okay? One, sorry about the noise in the background. So when you stimulate the vagus nerve, the following will occur. One, here we rush into the lungs. Okay? About 2.5 liters of air will be inspired. Okay? We rush into the lungs. Number two, epiglottis will close the larynx very tightly. Epiglottis will close the larynx very tightly. Number three, there will be contraction of the anterior abdominal muscle, the muscle of the stomach, of your tummy. The muscle of the tummy is called anterior abdominal muscle. That muscle will contract. And when it contracts against the diaphragm. It contracts against the diaphragm. You know the location of the diaphragm. Okay. I'm showing you the diaphragm now. Okay. You can see the muscles of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is the lower part of the thoracic cage. You can see it in red. Okay, look at the diaphragm. Okay, so below it is the tummy. So the muscles of the anterior abdominal will contract against the diaphragm. That's what you are saying. Okay, so that muscle contract against the diaphragm, and there is increase in pressure. There is increase in pressure. That increase in pressure will force the larynx and the epiglottis to open. Okay, and the high pressure will bring about explosion outwardly, so that it can push the irritant out of that respiratory tract. So that is how the irritant is removed. In addition, there will be stimulation of what? Goblet cells to produce mucus, so that it can trap the particles, okay, and take it out of either to the mouth or to the nasal cavity. Okay, so I said that what? How do you have cough reflex or sneezing reflex? The difference between the two is that cough is from the mouth, sneezing is from the nose. When the vagus nerve is stimulated, here we rush into the lungs. The epiglottis will close the larynx very tightly. There will be stimulation of the anterior abdominal wall to contract, and that contraction is against the diaphragm. Okay, it's against the diaphragm, which increases the pressure in the abdomen and also in the thoracic cage, thereby leading to what? Opening of the larynx and the epiglottis, which now causes high pressure within the abdominal cavity and the thoracic cavity to explode outside towards the exterior, which now forces the particle out of the nose or out of the mouth. If it is out of the mouth, it will cause cough. If it is towards out of the nose, it will cause sneezing. So that is how sneezing or coughing occurs. So I want somebody to explain that for me, so that you really know you understand cough and sneezing reflex. If you don't understand, you can listen to anybody that will explain, or chat me where you don't understand. Anybody that can explain the cough or sneezing reflex before we continue. Anybody? Anybody, please? Or you don't understand? Nobody is talking. If nobody is talking, it shows that you don't understand. Yeah? So should we continue, or it's clear? Nobody is talking. I want somebody to try. we are the Teresa.
So I wanted to ask a question. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you. Go ahead. You said?
I said I wanted to ask a question. There was something you said that there will be production at the end of it. There will be production of global cells. The global cells to do what?
Yeah.
When you said that when there's pressure, and that pressure will force the larynx and the epiglottis to open, so the irritant can be pushed out.
Yes.
But there's something you said again, that there will be production of something that are global cells, or
there will be production of mucus by the goblet cells.
Okay.
Goblet cells.
Okay.
Mm.
When we continue reading, we'll understand it.
Okay, all right. But I just hope others too can. Okay. All right, no problem. So let's continue.
Hello, sir.
Oh,
Hello, sir.
Adiola, you've been disturbing us with a light issue.
Hello.
Adiola, go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just want to give it a try. I really appreciate what you're saying, sir. So just from my own little medical experience, and based on what you have just said, sir, that's why I said I was just trying to put together all the stepwise process of both the cough and the sneezing reflex process. So from what I can understand, I learned you said that when there is an introduction of an irritant of any form into the respiratory pathway or tract, the pathway, the first thing is there's going to be increase, in the inflow of air, about 2.5 liter at first. Then following that, there's going to be pressure of the epiglottis and one other organ, I think, I don't remember, maybe the larynx. And after that, there is going to be contraction of the anterior abdominal wall against the diaphragm, and this results into an explosion. But at first, the mistake I made was that when there's that irritant introducing into the respiratory way, there's going to be stimulation of the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve, and which will bring about all the processes I've mentioned, and until we get to this production of an explosion by the contraction of the anterior abdominal wall against the diaphragm, and these will forcefully open back the epiglottis and the larynx in order to throw out that irritant. And then simultaneously, there's going to be stimulation of the goblet cells, which we also use to the production of mucus to trap that irritant, which might eventually come out, through the mouth as cough, or through the nasal cavity, the nostril, as sneezing. I think this is the little I can still remember. For the process now, I know it's more
very good
than what I've said. That's what I just grabbed now. Thank you, sir.
Very good, perfect. That's how it is. Okay, that is how it is, and that is why you discover that people that smoke, they give out dry cough. They cough, but that cough is dry. Okay? Why it is dry is because the content of the smoke apart from the fact that it is an irritant that is producing cough, it is also killing the cells of the respiratory tract. In those people, mucus production is also low. Okay? Then the elasticity. Don't forget that these respiratory tracts are made up of smooth muscle. They expand. They can expand easily. The elasticity of smoking patient is also reduced. Okay? By the content, including those people that eat kola nut. Kola nut contains caffeine, and caffeine is an irritant. Okay, it's an irritant to the respiratory tract. So too much of it will produce cough. There's also this plant. These people will say they are treating. They want to stimulate themselves. They will now put one grounded herbal this thing and be sniffing it into the nose. That is also an irritant. And if you look at those people, they are usually dry and they always cough. They are coughing. Okay? So all these things are irritants. Is that it produce sneezing or coughing. So that is that. Now the third cartilage, which is the cricoid cartilage, is a ring of hyaline cartilage that forms the inferior part of the larynx. And the thyroid cartilage is connected to the cricoid cartilage by the cricothyroid ligament. Because the cartilage, both thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage are a form of bone, but is a soft bone called cartilage. And that's why the ligament is called cricothyroid ligament. Now, for the paired one, the arytenoid cartilage, it is attached to the larynx, the voice fold, and the intrinsic laryngeal muscle. The intrinsic laryngeal muscle contracts and move the voice box to produce sound. The paired corniculate cartilage supports the structure for the epiglottis. So epiglottis is supported by paired corniculate cartilage, while the paired cuneiform cartilage, sorry for the noise in the background. Okay, somebody is asking question. How do we explain the mechanism of hiccups? Okay. Yeah, that of hiccups is also similar to that of coughing and sneezing. But that one is as a result of there are sinuses. There are sinuses in the skull, in the respiratory tract. So if there is entry of air or fluid into the sinuses, it will produce hiccups. Hiccups is like a gasping for breath, which can be caused by entry of air or fluid into the sinuses. Now, I was saying that the paired cuneiform cartilage supports the The noise is just too much. Sorry, tell my location. There's a construction going on, and I expect they should have stopped by 5. But it's as if okay. So the paired cuneiform cartilage supports the larynx, the voice box. I've explained the other time that the esophagus is part of the gut, the gastrointestinal system, and is located behind the trachea. And the function is to pass food, from the pharynx to the stomach. From the pharynx to the stomach. Okay, the trachea. The trachea, also known as, another name for it is the windpipe. Okay, let me show you the diagram of the trachea. This is the trachea. When you look at the trachea, okay, you see that esophagus is behind the trachea. Okay, the trachea is written as letter C. Letter C. You know, instead of writing a complete circle, a complete O, 0, you write C. Okay, and when you look at C, the end part of C is not closed. So when you have the end part that is not closed, you now write another 0 to close it. Okay, so that second 0 is the esophagus. The first C is the trachea. When you swallow food and it bulge into the trachea, into the unclosed C. Okay, that is how the trachea is. So you can see the trachea is containing ring of muscle. Okay, so let's look at the trachea. Is the passageway leading from the pharynx to the lungs. The layer of the trachea are 4. The mucosa, which is the inner layer, the submucosa, second layer, the hyaline cartilage. So the cartilage is the one that is forming C. The shape of the cartilage, when you go to market and you buy the trachea of the goat or cow, you will see that they call it biscuit bone. That trachea is hyaline cartilage. That biscuit bone, that soft throat that you eat from goat. Okay, the third layer is letter C. Then the last layer is the adventitia layer, and that layer is a layer of connective tissue that joins the cartilage of the trachea together. It joins the cartilage of the trachea together. Now, the trachea branches into 2. Trachea end by dividing into 2. And these two branches are the main bronchi. They call it bronchi. And each bronchi goes into each lungs. We have 2 lungs, the right and the left lungs. Okay, so once the trachea branches, that branch is called bronchi, and it enters into the lungs. Okay, it enters into the lungs. So the trachea is divided into 2 to form the 2 main bronchi, and these bronchi are subsequently divided to form bronchioles. Branches of the bronchi are called bronchioles. So the division of the bronchi is two: the right bronchus and the left bronchus. The right bronchus goes into the right lungs, while the left bronchus goes into the left lungs. Now, anatomically, the right lung is divided into 3 lobes, while the left lung is divided into 2 lobes. When you have the right and left bronchi, division also occur, such informs that those bronchi divides into the secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi before it forms the bronchus. Then the bronchus divide into the terminal bronchus. These are the branches, terminal bronchus. The terminal bronchus divides into the respiratory bronchus, then into the alveoli. So that's the division. I hope this division is clear. So you can see it from this diagram. Okay, this is the alveoli. Let's look at it very well. You have the bronchi and the bronchus. Now, when it's going down, the diameter is reducing. The diameter is reducing. There's reduction in diameter, but there's increase in surface area. As the division is going down, there is reduction in diameter, but there's increase in surface area. So you have the one that is called segmental bronchus. And the cartilage. And you have about 5 generations of it. Next to it is the smaller bronchi, which is about 15 generations. No, okay, you are saying, so can we get the lecture note? I've sent the lecture. That's the note, Adiola. What I'm using for you is the lecture notes now, which I've sent to you. Yeah? I'm using the lecture notes, which I've forwarded to you last week, or no, upper week. Yeah? Just go to page. Which page are we now? I can't locate the page, but I'm sure others have the lecture notes. Oh, you just joined. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I will forward the lecture note to you. Or anybody with the lecture notes can forward it. If you are on Telegram, just upload the. Yeah, it's being recorded. The voice notes, yes, the lecture is being recorded. So you get it at the end of the lecture. But what I'm saying is that some of your classmates have the lecture notes. So they can re-upload it on Telegram so that Adiola can download it because he's a new student. Or if maybe by the end of the lecture, I will upload it for you because I don't want to disrupt this lecture. So what I'm saying is this, that as the thing is going down, there is reduction in diameter, but the surface area is increasing. So you can see the terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, and the alveoli. Both the alveoli duct and the alveoli sac. So under the bronchioles, everybody, under the bronchioles, you have the lobus. Okay? Respiration only takes place in the respiratory bronchioles and the alveoli. That place, that black one, you have acinus. That bracket where you have the acinus is only where the respiration takes place. So others is to conduct air into the lungs. And this acinus has been enlarged. You can see, when you see the enlargement, you see terminal bronchioles, smooth muscle, elastic fiber. This elastic fiber is what I said that in smokers, this elastic fiber, has the ability to expand, to contract and relax. But in smokers, this elastic fiber is destroyed by smoke. So that ability to expand is not there. So you see the alveolus, first order, second order, third order respiratory bronchi, alveoli duct, alveoli sac, alveoli. Okay? So inside this alveoli, you have two types of cell, type 1 and type 2. And we are saying that in the type 2 cell, that is where surfactant is produced. Don't forget, last upper week, and we gave the function of surfactant inside these red balls. These balls, inside it, you have a cell called the type 2 alveoli cell that is responsible for the production of surfactant. And what's the function of surfactant? It prevents the collapse of the lungs and also reduces surface tension of the lungs. Because the mechanism within the respiratory tract is that it may generate tension. Just like balloon. When you blow air into balloon, it expands. You deflate it, it relaxes. But too much of air can cause high inflation and burst the balloon. That is prevented in the respiratory tract because of the presence of what? Surfactant. Now, any baby that lacks surfactant will suffer from respiratory distress syndrome, and that syndrome is enough to kill that baby. That syndrome is enough to kill that baby. Because what will happen is that it will lead to what? Increased surface tension and collapsing of the lungs. Smokers kill the type 2 alveoli cell. The smoke from the cigarette, which is what they take in is called nicotine. When nicotine gets into our body, it turns to cotinine. And that cotinine is a toxic compound that can kill type 2 alveoli cell, reduce surfactant production, and cause respiratory distress syndrome. Respiratory distress syndrome, whether in adults or in babies, can kill individual because it will collapse the lungs and cause increased tension in the lungs. So any babies that lack type 2 alveoli cell or that have reduced or deficiency of surfactants will suffer from respiratory distress syndrome, and that baby cannot survive it. That baby will die. So these alveoli ducts, alveoli sac, the alveoli are very important part of the respiratory tract. Again, so Adeola, be following the diagram. Later you get the notes. Be following the diagram. Be following the diagram so that you will understand. Once you understand, later you get the so in the diagram above, you can see an imagination. When you look at diagram A, you see A. When you look at A, you see the lung, okay, the lung, and a kind of root, okay. Now, you see that what you have that enters into the lung is the trachea, before it now branches into two. The two branches are the bronchi, before the bronchi now branches into other strands, okay. So that is how it is in everybody, okay. So when you look at where it is circled, it is taken out. So where it is circled is the terminal bronchi, which is the last stage. The terminal bronchi doesn't participate in respiration, it just conducts air. So after the terminal bronchi, you have the respiratory bronchi. Now, in the respiratory bronchi, that is where you have exchange of gases, where you have inspiration and expiration. That is where respiration starts. Other branches are just to conduct air. But where the air is exchanged with blood is in the respiratory bronchi. From the respiratory bronchi, you see the alveoli ducts. Then you see the alveoli. And you see the alveoli sac. So from the respiratory bronchi down to the alveoli sac, these are parts where respiration takes place. Now you see the circle again. The diagram circled the alveoli sac and brought it out to enlarge it. In the alveoli sac, what do you have? You have the alveoli duct and the alveolus. In this alveolus, you have the alveoli cell, type 1 and type 2. Okay? So this is what we have. This is what we have in the lungs. And this is what we have in the lungs. And this is the lung. As you see this diagram, another organ also shared close similarity. Another organ in our body. Another organ in our body also shares close similarity with the lungs, and it is the breast. This is how the breast also looks like. You have the alveolus, alveoli duct, alveoli sac, and the alveoli in the breast. And you have it like these three. So the breast and the lungs, they share this similarity. Surfactant is produced in the lung. Breast milk is produced in the breast. In the alveoli, surfactant is what is produced in the lungs. But that of breast produces what? Breast milk. Okay? So that is so when you come back, when you come about alveoli duct, alveolus, alveoli sac, don't think that it only exists in the lungs alone. It can also be found in the breast. The only difference is that that of the lungs produces what? Surfactant, a chemical that prevents collapsing of the lungs. But that of the breast produces breast milk for the baby. Okay? So now we have the lungs. We have the lungs. The lungs is a cone-shaped organ. Is a cone-shaped organ. And we said it is located in the thoracic cavity. It is located in the thoracic cavity. So this is the thoracic cavity now. The chest. You know, the chest is called the thorax. Thorax. The chest is called the thorax. Let me look for another diagram so that you can see. So the rib form the thoracic cage. So the lung is located inside the thorax. Okay? And that's thoracity. Cavity means a space. A space, an enclosed space. Cavity, an enclosed space. Where you have your washing machine. A washing machine have a cavity. It has a space, an enclosed space where you can put your clothes. Okay? So that is how thoracic cavity is. So that thoracic cavity has an enclosed space. So what occupies the space is the lung. Okay? And the shape of the lung is a cone shape. That's what you are saying. Now, between the thoracic cavity lung, there is a space. Okay? There is a space between the cage and the lung, and that space is called a pleural cavity. Pleural cavity. The pleural cavity. And that pleural cavity contains fluid. It contains fluid. And that fluid serves as shock absorber when we breathe in and breathe out. Okay? When we breathe in and breathe out. So that when we breathe in, the lungs doesn't touch the thoracic cage. So the fluid serves as a cushion, that prevents the lungs from touching the thoracic cage. On the lungs, you have the pleural membrane that protects the lungs. And that pleural membrane can be divided into two. We have the parietal pleura and the visceral pleura. Inflammation of the pleural membrane is pleuritis. So bacterial inflammation of the pleural membrane called pleuritis, or accumulation of fluid within the pleural space is called pleural effusion. Pleural effusion. Now, below the chest or below the thoracic cage, the structure that occupies the lower part of the chest or the thoracic cage is the diaphragm. Is the diaphragm. Is the diaphragm. So when you look at the shape of the diaphragm, it's like a cone, like you write C upside down. Or how will I call it now? If you want to feel like you write N, letter N, you can see that it is not a straight line. So when the lung is inflated, inflation means that what? Inspired here. When you breathe in here into the lung, the diaphragm becomes flat. It becomes flat like a stick, like a horizontal stick. But when you take air out of the lungs, it returns into the cone. It forms cone again. I hope you understand this. When you breathe in, you take air into the lungs. Diaphragm will what? Will become flat instead of this cone shape. But when you take air out of the lungs, okay, the diaphragm becomes cone shape. So when diaphragm becomes flat, what happens is that it increases the superior inferior diameter. Flat diaphragm causes increase superior inferior diameter of the thoracic cavity, thereby increasing the space. It increases the space of the thoracic cavity. The space within the thoracic cavity is increased. So, and that's what we are explaining, that the diaphragm will move down and create a suction that draws in air and expand the lungs. So what we are saying is that during inspiration, diaphragm moves down, it becomes flat. Then it increases the space. Okay, it increases the space so that more air can enter into the what? Into the lungs. Okay. Now we have the alveoli. Again, we all know that what? Alveoli is part of the organ where gaseous exchange occur between the air and the blood. And somebody will be wondering, how will oxygen enters into the blood into the lung? Because when we take in oxygen, it combines with what? The blood. Then the blood will now lose the CO2 and forms air that we breathe out. The process that occur in the alveoli that makes the gaseous exchange, whether it is CO2 or it is oxygen, to occur, is called diffusion. The process is called diffusion. And when you look at the definition of diffusion, it says that what? Diffusion is the process whereby substances move from the region of higher concentration So diffusion is the which substances move from the region of higher concentration to the region of what? Concentration to region. Okay. Now, let's now relate it to what? The oxygen. Oxygen is high in the atmosphere. So it moves into the blood where you have lower concentration of oxygen because it is needed in the blood. So the process that gets in oxygen into the blood is diffusion. Again, CO2 is more in our body and is low in atmosphere, and plants needs it. So diffusion gets CO2 out of our body into the atmosphere. When we fat, fat is the process of diffusion because we have gas accumulation in the stomach and we must release the gas to where you have less gas. And the process of fatting is diffusion. Belching is a process of diffusion. When you have accumulation of gas and you release some, so you have more gas in you and you belch to release. So that's diffusion. So you can see that diffusion process are many in the body. Diffusion processes in physiological regulation are many in the body. So the process of gaseous exchange is the process of diffusion. That's what we are saying. Lungs and in the alveoli in the respiratory tract has the highest surface area, but the smallest diameter, or the highest surface area. So what is needed for diffusion is actually surface area, not diameter. So the more the surface area, the more the diffusion process. And that is why from the terminal bronchioles to the nasal cavity, respiration don't take place because of more diameter and less surface area. The wall of the alveoli consists of what? Two types of alveoli epithelium, type 1 and type 2 cell. Type 1 and type 2 cell. Type 1 is where gaseous exchange occur. Type 1, the cells of the alveoli is of two types, type 1 and type 2. In type 1, that's where gaseous exchange occur. In type 2 cell, that is where you have secretion of the alveoli fluid called surfactant. And we have already know the functions of surfactant. Okay. Now, the entire respiratory membrane by which diffusion will occur in the alveoli cell contain 4 layers. The first layer is the alveoli cell, the type 1 and type 2. And this layer are the alveoli macrophage, which constitute the alveoli wall. So the first layer is the wall of the alveoli. The second layer is the epithelial basement membrane of the alveoli wall. The third layer is the capillary basement membrane. And the fourth layer is the capillary endothelium. 1, alveoli wall, alveoli basement membrane, capillary basement membrane, capillary endothelium. These are the 4 layers of the respiratory membrane. Membrane is like a layer. Layer is like a skin. When you say membrane, skin. So the skin of the alveoli cell, when you look at the skin of the alveoli cell, where diffusion, the exchange of gases takes place, we say that it is made up of 4 layers. The alveoli wall, alveoli epithelial basement membrane, alveoli capillary basement membrane, and the alveoli capillary endothelium cell. So meaning that what? Whether it is oxygen or carbon dioxide must pass through this wall, through the process of diffusion. When we breathe in and out. Now, for some people, they are hearing capillary, and it may become strange to them. Capillary, you have been hearing capillary basement membrane, capillary endothelium. Now, you will all agree with me that in the body, we have blood vessels. blood vessels. So when you hear blood vessels, you see arteries. You've heard about artery, you've heard about vein, and the last one is the capillary. So capillary is a blood vessel. Capillary is a blood vessel, just like the artery, vein, and capillary. So the blood vessel have different functions. For example, now, artery takes blood away from the heart and supply different organs. So blood comes from the heart and it is taken away from the heart to the body. Just as you have your storage, you have water stored in the storage DP tank, and you have a pipe that brings the water to the tap. That's the function of the artery. It takes blood away from the heart. Vein takes blood back to the heart. Veins takes blood back to the heart. Now, when we say artery takes blood away from the heart, blood that is coming from the artery or that is leaving the heart is very rich in oxygen. So that blood is called oxygenated blood. So artery carries oxygenated blood. Blood that is going back to the heart is coming from tissue. Tissue would have used the oxygen. So blood in the vein cannot have oxygen. Blood in the vein cannot have oxygen. So blood in the vein is called deoxygenated blood. Blood in the artery is called oxygenated. Blood in the vein is called deoxygenated blood. So it's returning to the heart. While capillary is meant for gaseous exchange. So when we say artery contains oxygen, vein will contain carbon dioxide. Where exchange occurs in the tissue is the capillary. Capillary is where the fluid exchange occurs. Artery is where carries oxygenated blood. Vein is what carries CO2. At this point, I want somebody to explain to me so that I will know that I'm not deceiving myself. I want you to explain artery, vein, and capillary. Anybody, apart from Adeola, how can you differentiate an artery, a vein, and capillary? Anybody?
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, my brother.
Hello, sir.
Good evening, my brother. Go ahead.
Yes, arteries. These are smooth muscles, kind of tube that helps to transport oxygenated blood to different parts of the body. And the white veins are also small conducting the oxygenated blood out of different parts of the body towards the earth. White capillaries are the junction where both the artery and veins meet on different structure or organs or parts of the body. I think to my own literal understanding, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So just as you said artery blood away from the heart and it oxygenated blood. Vein too, and it lacks oxygen and it's called deoxygenated blood. Capillary is where fluid exchange occur. Okay, thank you very much. You can mute yourself. Adeola. So now let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think they don't give injection in the artery, but they give injection in the vein? Okay, you have heard about IV
Hello,
before,
sir.
intravenous.
Hello, sir.
No, not you. I'm asking the general. Adola, no, not you. I'm asking the general class. You can mute.
Hello,
Yeah. So I'm saying that. Hello, hello. Who is it? Let me.
Hello, sir. Please, I want.
Adola again.
No, I want to clarify something. The issue there is that someone joined through the link I sent on group, but they failed to change the name or the participant list. So that is why it's showing Adiola. It's only one Adiola that we have.
Okay.
So that's why.
Okay, because you are talking, it's also showing Adiola.
Me that I'm talking, I'm the real Adiola.
Okay. Sorry. We have about Adiola, many Adiola, almost 8 Adiola here. It's okay. Sorry. So now let me ask the class. What I'm saying is that who is?
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to try. The reason why IV is given through it's not given through artery is because arteries carries oxygenated blood, and it is the rate at which the oxygenated blood moves during through the artery is very high. The pressure is high, so that is why it's not on the peripheral part of the body, but it is very in the muscle, the tissue inside the tissue. But the vein carries the oxygenated blood, and it's not the force is not as higher. I mean, the pressure is not as high as that of the artery. That's why IV is given through vein, but not artery. That is the little I can chip in, sir.
Okay, very good. Even Fola Shade has also supported your point.
Now repeat the question because I didn't get it.
Okay, I will. We are looking at the blood vessel because of the word capillary. I said capillary is a blood vessel, just like the artery and the vein. And I asked that why is it that when you want to give injection, you don't go and puncture the artery, you only puncture the vein? You have two answers. It doesn't have to do with the oxygen content or lack of oxygen. You have said it, the pressure, the force, okay, in the pressure in the artery is very, very high. It's more than that of the vein. So when you puncture the artery, you may not be able to control it because the pressure is high. You will be losing blood. You can't control it. Yes, it causes bleeding. But that of the vein contains low pressure. Okay? So it's all about pressure. It's not about the content of the blood, whether the body carries oxygen or not. No. But the pressure. Artery has higher pressure, increased pressure, because it's coming directly from the heart. It's dealing with the heart directly. The veins have lower pressure. Okay, I want to say, how do we differentiate? That's what you are saying now. One, you want to differentiate the artery and the vein. Artery has pressure. Okay? Vein has lower pressure. Artery has higher pressure. That's the first differentiation. Number two, artery carries oxygenated blood. Vein carry deoxygenated blood. That's number two. Artery takes blood away from the heart. Vein takes blood towards the heart. That's another third difference. Vein has valve. Artery don't have valve. Valve, you know valve? Within the vein, there are enclosures. How will I put it now? Valve now, you know valve. When they say the valve, in a pipe, a pipe that has valve, that valve is to control the direction of flow of blood, unidirectional flow of blood. Artery don't have valve. Vein contains valve. Valve is like a leaf, okay? Something that is closing a pipe, okay? But it can open with the direction of blood, okay? It can open with the direction of blood, okay? So I've given like 4 differences now, Abi. Okay.
Hello, sir.
So, hello. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I kind of wanted to ask a question with reference to the injection given to through the vein. So, I've been thinking about this for long, but I couldn't understand it, though I don't have a medical background. So I'm trying to understand that this injection given, is it that when it is given through the vein, it moves directly to the different parts of the body without being controlled by, let's say, the heart, which is involved in the pumping of the blood? I want to get to understand how the injection given works.
Okay, very good. When you give injection to the vein, okay, IV. Why you are giving injection to the vein, first of all, get it, is because to accelerate the action, of the drug. So when you give injection or you take drug orally, you know it will first of all go into the stomach to be digested before it will now be absorbed into the bloodstream, which will take time. So the first to circumvent or to bridge all this, you go straight to the bloodstream and you give the vein. The vein will take the blood to the heart. The heart will now help you to redistribute it, takes it to the artery. The artery will now distribute it everywhere. For instance, now you have malaria parasite in your bloodstream, and the parasite has been distributed all over, okay, in your bloodstream. And you know that if you are going to take a tablet, it can take some days before the action will start. If the malaria is a chronic malaria, you need immediate intervention. So what you do is that you give IV, okay? You give infusion through IV. Once you take it to the vein will take it to the heart. Heart will take it to the artery. Artery will take it throughout the body. It will go to the liver. Any parasite hiding in the liver, it will destroy them. Take it to the GIT, take it to the kidney, take it to the lungs, take it everywhere. Okay? And that is why when you give IV, it is so fast that you start smelling. If some drugs, you start smelling it from your breath because it has entered your lungs. Some drugs, when immediately you urinate, your urine, if you carry it and smell it, you will be smelling the drug from your kidney. It has entered the kidney, and that's why you are smelling the drug from your urine. And that's the advantage of intravenous injection. You give that when you need immediate action. So, my brother, when you give it through the vein, it will still go to the heart, heart will distribute to the artery, and the artery will convey it to different part of the body to have action.
Thank you, sir. It's gotten
I hope
clearly.
that
Thank you.
somebody is asking that, sir, what is the cause of different discoloration of blood in a blood bag, where some are dark red and some are light red? Blood bag, in a blood bag, dark red. Sir, which one of them has valve? Okay, I do not get down, sir. Okay. CD cat. Vein has valve, artery don't. Vein has valve, artery don't.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. The discoloration of blood, in the bag. Well, blood can be discolorated if it is coagulating. Okay. If it is coagulating, then you begin to see discoloration of blood. Okay. I think that's the only explanation I have, except different blood groups are mixed together, which I doubt. So if you have blood in a bag, either the purpose is to infuse the blood now, so you are not expected to have a different discoloration. How about the injection given to the buttocks? Intramuscular, that's muscle. Is it connected to the vein? No. In muscular. Intramuscular. When you give to the buttocks, when you give it through the buttocks, is through the muscle, intramuscular. Okay. So we have different routes anyway. We have subcutaneous. We have subdermal, derma. Subdermal, some contraceptive injection. Okay. Some injection can be more okay, intramuscular. Some can be intravenous, and while some can be oral. How can we recognize the vein? Okay. Well, there are instruments. There are instruments that can be, like a light, a UV light that to over the skin, and you see you are more okay. Veins are more superficial on the body, more superficial on the body than arteries. Okay. Veins are more superficial on the body than artery. But you can locate it. There are UV lights that you can use to indicate the vein. So please let me stop the lecture here for today, but you are not stopping. Okay, you want to have a kind of interview, oral interview. So the oral interview will be in form of lecture. So the candidate will come and lecture you on a topic. Okay, and the topic is hypoxia. In the next 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, you are supposed to close by 6:45. In the next 30 minutes, you will take lecture on hypoxia. So I will pause here. Next week, we will start from blood supply to the lungs. But in the next 30 minutes, let's take hypoxia. Okay? So after the lecture, you can ask your question on hypoxia. Okay? And we now conclude the class. Okay? So thank you very much. So the next topic now is hypoxia. Okay? It is the later part of your course. It is the later part of respiratory system, which I will still take you. But for the sake of the interview, have the lecture now. Okay? But I will still teach you again later. I hope it's clear. So the voice you will hear now will be the voice of the second lecturer. It's like this. No,
Hello, sir.
hello.
Sir, please, I want to ask, do we have opportunity of asking you questions after? Because these materials, after I printed it, I'm still struggling to read. It's much, it's voluminous. So what I'm trying to say is that after reading, if I eventually have other questions, when the other lecturers start, do we have the opportunity of getting in touch with you to ask you questions?
Yes, now you can always post your question to the Telegram or send it directly to me.
Okay, on Telegram, right?
Send it to my WhatsApp.
Okay. See on Telegram. We should send it directly to you on Telegram.
Yes. Send it to me on Telegram.
All right. Thank you.
Excuse sir. Please, sir. Hello, sir.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, sir, please, some of us submitted our assignments to your Telegram. I don't know whether it was taken or not. So,
assignment.
The one you gave before on organelles.
No, that is BCH now, madam.
Oh, sorry, sir.
He has not given us assignment.
Okay.
I was wondering. I was wondering, did I give you any assignment?
Okay, sir. Sorry.
Hello, sir.
Okay, so I want to share the lecture notes on hypoxia so that you can.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Please, I want to ask a question, sir.
Go ahead.
You mentioned cutaneous and derma. So I want to ask, what was the difference and relationship between cutaneous and derma?
There is no relationship. It's just a different route of administration.
Okay, sir. Noted, sir.
Just 1 minute. I want to share the Okay, let me send this thing to you. on the lecture notes on Telegram on hypoxia so that you can go and download so that you have the lecture notes. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you will see the lecture notes now. Please download it so that the lecture can start, please. So that's the PowerPoint. I will pin it. So that's the PowerPoint for is on the Telegram. So because I was trying to upload it, maybe because it's in PowerPoint, it did not upload. It should be in PDF.
Well, same, sir.
So please, the lecture will start now.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma. Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma. You're welcome, ma.
Good evening, ma. You
Thank
are
you
welcome,
very
ma.
much.
Good
Thank you
evening,
very
ma'am.
much. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Mrs. Gloria Okotie. So I'll be taking you a topic in respiratory physiology. And the title of the topic is hypoxia. Please, we all have the PowerPoint now.
Yes, ma.
Yes, just sent down.
Okay. Please, let's get into it. So at the end of this particular lecture, you should have been able to learn the definition of hypoxia, the causes of hypoxia, the different type of hypoxia, and the effect of hypoxia on the body system, and the management or the treatment of hypoxia. So let's start by defining what hypoxia is. Now, hypoxia is defined as a deficiency in either the delivery or the utilization of oxygen at the tissue level. What do I mean by this? It means that hypoxia is principally or primarily caused by problem in the delivery of oxygen to the tissue, or inability of the tissue itself to make use of oxygen. Please, do we understand? Hello, are you still there?
Yes, we are here, sir. We are here, ma. Can you come
Yes,
again, ma?
ma'am.
I hear you, ma.
Okay, I'm just trying to tell you what hypoxia is. I said hypoxia is the deficiency. It's on the slide. You can just follow up with the slide. I said hypoxia is defined as the deficiency in the delivery or the utilization of oxygen at the tissue level. Now, when there is problem in the delivery or the utilization of oxygen by the tissue, it can actually lead to changes in function. The normal functioning of the body. It can lead to changes in metabolism, in the metabolic activities that occurs in the body, and as well, it can cause changes even in the structure of the body. Now, let's discuss the causes of hypoxia. The very first cause of hypoxia is high altitude. What do I mean by high altitude? High altitude is any height that is about 5,000 feet above the sea level. High altitude is height that is about 5,000 feet above the sea level. So what happened at high altitude? At high altitude, there is low atmospheric pressure. Low atmospheric pressure, and as a result of that, the amount, as a result of this low atmospheric pressure, the partial pressure of oxygen in air is reduced. And you will agree with me that if the partial pressure of oxygen in air at that level is reduced, when such air is inhaled, there will be decrease. Of course, there will be decrease already in the amount of oxygen that will be delivered to the lung and that will be eventually delivered to the tissue in the body. Now, the second cause is low hemoglobin. Low hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin is one of the constituents that is present in the blood. And what does it do? The function of hemoglobin is to transport oxygen. And so when there is low amount of this hemoglobin in blood, of course, the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood will be reduced. So please, do we all get that? So another factor is decreased oxygen supply to an area in the body. Also, we have another one here, poor tissue perfusion. That is, poor tissue perfusion. It means reduction in blood flow to an affected tissue in the body. And this essentially affects the delivery of oxygen
Sorry, I can no longer hear. I don't know if it is from my side.
Sorry, ma, you are no longer audible.
Yes, ma, you're not audible, ma.
I can't hear anything
I
as
think
well.
it's from my side. Yeah, from my side.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi, ma.
Hello.
We
Hello,
couldn't
ma.
hear you for
Hello,
a
ma.
period of time.
About 2 minutes.
Where last did you hear me?
When you
What
were
is you
discussing about the
perfusion?
yeah.
Okay, perfusion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying that poor tissue perfusion can also be another cause for hypoxia. And then poor tissue diffusion, it just simply means that reduction in the flow of blood in the affected tissue. So you know that definitely if there is reduction in the flow of blood to a tissue, of course, the oxygen that is present also that is being transported by the blood will be reduced. So let's just go directly to the classification. That is slide 2, classification of hypoxia. So we have 4 major types of hypoxia. The first one is hypoxic hypoxia. We have anemic hypoxia. We have stagnant hypoxia. And we have histotoxic hypoxia. Please, do we all get that?
Please, you are too fast. Please, you are too fast.
Oh, okay. Please, it's because of the time, but I'll try and slow down. So I said, please, we get the classification.
No, ma, I did not.
I said, please, you have the lecture slide.
No.
Yes,
please download.
We do have the
slide
lecture
is
slide. You can continue.
the slide is already in the Telegram page.
Please download it so that you can call.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You
I'm
can
on lecture.
continue.
All right, I'm on slide 2 now. So I said classification of hypoxia. Now, hypoxia can be classified into 4 types. we have hypoxic hypoxia, anemic hypoxia. The third one is stagnant hypoxia. And the fourth one is histotoxic hypoxia. So the third slide, hypoxic hypoxia. Now, what is hypoxic hypoxia? In this type of hypoxia, the arterial partial pressure of oxygen is reduced. The arterial partial pressure of oxygen is reduced, that is, there is reduced oxygen content in the blood. It means that the amount of oxygen in blood is reduced. And then what are the causes of hypoxic hypoxia? The very first one there is low oxygen tension in inspired air. That is, when the air we inspire, the air we breathe in has low oxygen in it. Definitely, we should all understand that the amount of oxygen that will be ultimately delivered to the tissue in the body would also be low in its amount. Now, the second cause of hypoxic hypoxia is decreased pulmonary ventilation due to respiratory disorders. The respiratory disorders such as obstructive lung diseases, such as seen in asthma. We also have nervous and mechanical disorders, such as paralysis of respiratory muscles in poliomyelitis. And the third one there is this depression of respiratory centers as seen in brain tumors. Now, if you look into figure 2 on the same slide, you would see that the diagram there is comparing between a normal lung and an asthmatic lung. Now, in the normal lungs, you can see that the muscle is well relaxed. The lining of the lungs are normal, while in an asthmatic lung, you would see that the muscles are tightened, and this tightening causes the constriction of the airway. And when the airway is constricted like that, it causes narrowing of the airway, which limits airflow. It means that it will become very difficult for air to move from the lung into the surrounding blood, into the blood surrounding the lungs. So let's move on. The third cause of hypoxic hypoxia is inadequate oxygenation. I'm on the third slide now. Inadequate oxygenation of blood due to respiratory disorders. Now, the first respiratory disorder that causes inadequate oxygenation of blood is impaired alveoli diffusion, as seen in emphysema. Number 2, presence of non-functioning alveoli, as in fibrosis. And the third one there is filling of alveoli with fluid, as in pulmonary edema, pneumonia, then pulmonary hemorrhage. Now, if you check figure 3 on the same slide, that is the third slide, you will see the comparison between the normal lung and a fibrotic lung. Fibrosis is the thickening of the connective tissue. Thickening of connective tissue, which usually results because of injury, maybe to the lung or other pathological factors. And because of the presence of the fibrosis, it becomes impossible for air to leave the lungs. So you can see it. You can see the first diagram there. You can see the air sac that does not have fibrosis. You can see that oxygen is easily leaving the alveoli, while carbon dioxide is coming in to be expired in air, to be expired through the lung, while the damaged air sac, due to fibrosis, you can see the whitish whitish substances inside the alveoli. So those are the fibrotic tissue that actually make it impossible for air to leave the lung. So as a result of this also, it will be difficult for oxygen to be delivered to the body tissue. So the fourth cause of hypoxic hypoxia is cardiac disorders, such as seen in congestive heart failure. Now, in congestive heart failure, congestive heart failure occurs as a result of the inability of the heart muscle to pump blood. So when the pumping ability of the heart is impaired, it becomes difficult for blood to be transported throughout the body, of course, and it becomes very difficult for oxygen to be available to the body tissues. So please, I'm on slide 6 now, and I'll be on slide 6. We have the second type of hypoxia, which is anemic hypoxia. Now, in anemic hypoxia, the oxygen carrying capacity of blood is reduced, is decreased. In anemic hypoxia, the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reduced, and this is because of decreased amount of hemoglobin. As I have said earlier, that hemoglobin is the component present in blood that binds oxygen in order for it to be transported in blood. So causes of anemic hypoxia, we have anemia, and in anemia, anemia can actually be defined as reduced red blood cell number in blood. So when the number of red blood cell is reduced, it becomes difficult also for oxygen to be transported to the body tissue. Also, another cause of anemic hypoxia is hemorrhage. Hemorrhage means loss of blood, and it can be due to injury or other pathological condition as well. Now, in major hemorrhage actually results in anemic condition. That means the major hemorrhage reduces the number of red blood cells that is present in the blood. Also, the third cause of anemic hypoxia, abnormal hemoglobin. An example of abnormal hemoglobin is methemoglobin. Methemoglobin, we have hemoglobin S, or you say hemoglobin sickle. Also, we have carboxyhemoglobin. In carboxyhemoglobin, the hemoglobin, carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin instead of oxygen. So, and then the binding of carbon monoxide to hemoglobin prevents oxygen to be bind to hemoglobin, and as such reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of blood. So the third type of anemia is stagnant. The third type of hypoxia, is stagnant hypoxia. I'm on slide 8 now. Stagnant hypoxia. In stagnant hypoxia, blood flow to the tissue is so low, or it is slow, that adequate oxygen is not delivered to the tissue despite a normal oxygen level in blood. So it means that the stagnant hypoxia is characterized by decreased velocity of blood flow. Stagnant hypoxia is characterized by decreased velocity of blood flow. And the causes of stagnant hypoxia, number 1, we have congestive heart failure, circulatory failure, and shock. And the fourth one is histotoxic hypoxia. In histotoxic hypoxia, oxygen is delivered to the tissue. That is, adequate amount of oxygen is delivered to the tissue, but the tissue cannot utilize the oxygen due to the action of a toxic agent. And then one of the primary causes of histotoxic hypoxia is cyanide poisoning. And what does cyanide do? Cyanide blocks the action of cytochrome oxidase enzyme completely, so that tissues cannot utilize oxygen. Now, this cytochrome oxidase enzyme is a very, very important enzyme that is present in the mitochondria that is involved in the process of conversion of in the process of cellular respiration and the generation of energy in the form of ATP. Now, effects of hypoxia. If hypoxia is severe enough, I'm on slide 10 now. If hypoxia is severe enough, it can cause death of cells throughout the body. And in less severe cases, that is the case that are not really severe, we have its effect on the nervous system. It causes headache, excitement, drowsiness, impaired judgment, loss of time. On the respiratory system, we have its effects. It causes increased respiratory rates, cyanosis, periodic breathing. And on CVS, we have tachycardia, hypertension. On GIT, nausea, vomiting, anorexia. And on musculoskeletal system, it causes reduced work capacity of the muscle. So management of hypoxia. Now, hypoxia can be managed by giving oxygen therapy. And oxygen therapy, it means the administration of oxygen to patients for the treatment of condition resulting from oxygen deficiency. Now, and oxygen can be administered via 3 ways. Number one, the patient can be placed in a tent that contains air fortified with oxygen. Number two, the patient can be allowed to breathe in pure oxygen or high concentration of oxygen from a mask. And the third way of administering oxygen is through intranasal tube. So on this slide, on the 12th slide, you can see the different ways in which oxygen can be administered. So I want you to note that the efficacy of oxygen therapy depends on the type of hypoxia. So before deciding on oxygen therapy, the physiological basis of different types of hypoxia should be reviewed. So in conclusion, I would say that hypoxic hypoxia, oxygen therapy is 100% useful, while in anemic hypoxia, it is 70%, in stagnant hypoxia, 50%, and in histotoxic hypoxia, it is not efficient because the cause of the hypoxia is due to the inability of the tissue to utilize oxygen, despite the fact that oxygen is present in adequate amounts. Thank you very much. I will stop here. Please, do you have any question? Hello, class.
You don't hear anything. We're too fast.
Please, do you have any question? Please, we have the lecture slide. That's why I provided the lecture slide.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Please, I can hear you.
Okay. Actually, I have some questions.
Okay.
The first of which I will mention is, does it mean that the asthmatic patient is suffering from fibrosis, and this is what led to their inability to breathe whenever they experience an allergic situation?
Well, asthma is caused by a lot of factors, but for this particular topic, asthma results from vasoconstriction. That is, the blood vessel is overly constricted, and which results in inflammation. When inflammation occurs, if you can go to slide 3, when inflammation occurs, it causes swelling of the lining of the lungs, and as well excess mucus is trapped in the lung tissue. Excess mucus is trapped in the lung tissue, and that's the reason why most of the time you will see these asthmatic patients, they have this inhaler, which also the inhaler contains oxygen. So they need immediate vasodilator as well as oxygen being administered to them.
Then thank you. Then for this last classification of hypoxia, which is the histotoxic hypoxia, since the oxygen therapy is not the best way of handling it, what will be the diagnosis? What will be the specific therapy to apply?
It depends on the kind of pathologic condition that we are looking into. For example, now in congestive heart failure, I said congestive heart failure results from the inability of the heart to pump blood. Do you understand? So in such situation, you will first of all address what is causing that inability of the heart to pump blood before you now.
Why do you do like that?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. In histotoxic hypoxia, you know I said it's the tissue that have problem. It is not problem relating to the delivery of oxygen. It is the tissue that have problem. So, for example, if there's cyanide poisoning, the poison should first of all be treated. Like the poison should first of all be removed. Do you understand? Before we can now utilize oxygen.
Hello, ma.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
I
you.
can hear you.
Yes, thank you for your time, ma. I want to ask whether the atherosclerosis, can it lead to hypoxia?
Yes, atherosclerosis can lead to hypoxia because atherosclerosis is the blockage of blood vessel due to cholesterol deposition in the blood vessel. So of course it can, because the deposition of cholesterol will limit the blood flow. You know, when the blood vessel is blocked or obstructed, the flow of blood will be affected. So of course the blood flowing to other tissues in the body will be affected. And of course, adequate amount of oxygen will not be delivered to the tissue, and it can result in hypoxia. You are correct, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, please, is there any other question? Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Question. Thank you for the class, ma'am. Please, that in a stroke patient, can it be a heart failure issue, or can we call it a stagnant hypoxia? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, a stroke patient, what happened in stroke? The physiological basis of stroke. The physiological basis of stroke. Now, when there is congestive heart failure, the blood present in the blood vessels, they would stagnant, and as a result of that, blood clotting can develop. And then when there is blood clot, if it travels to the brain, it actually causes it can lead to stroke. So in that way, stagnant hypoxia can actually cause stroke. It can lead to stroke.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, any other question? Please, someone was complaining that I was too fast. It's because of the time. My time is up now.
Okay. Hello, ma.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned hemorrhage as loss of blood.
Yes.
The anemia as loss of blood. I want you to clarify the two so that it's confusing.
No, ischemia is not.
No, I said anemia, then hemorrhage.
Okay, anemia. I said in anemia, there is reduction in the amount of red blood cell. Reduction in the amount of red blood cell. Why hemorrhage is the loss of blood, such as in accident, injury to the body that causes major loss of blood from the body.
Okay. Yes. Cleared now. Thank you,
so it's hemorrhage that will now lead to anemic condition. Anemic condition in the sense that hemorrhage will cause reduction in the red blood cell.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you very soon.
Thank you, ma.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma.
Okay, thank you for your time in the class.
Thank you.
As part of the normal process of recruitment, the management is trying to have more staffing that can deliver, particularly in the area of basic medical science. So I thank you very much. The topic will be retreated later. So this one is just a teaching practice effort to see if the candidate can deliver or not. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you gain one or two things till we meet again next week. I think bye for now. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Abdurrahman.